sounds between two worlds. Fire, walk with me.
One day, my log will have something to say about this.
Most sometimes my arms bend.
Leo needs a new pair of shoes.
By way of explaining what we're about to do, I am first going to tell you a little bit about the country called Tibet.
Cotton balls.
My God, those things will be quiet now.
As the mule watch is dying to come back in style.
Welcome to Amateur Hour.
How do you take your coffee? Black as midnight on a moonless night. Oh, love that, Agent Cooper. Welcome to Rewatchers in the Lodge. I'm here. I'm Tyler Harris with
Marcus Marinos,
Riley Harris,
Tyler McKinley,
Mitchell Marshall,
and who I forgot to mention last night, Justin Hammer, our producer? Question mark? Is that the best title for you?
We promoted him from next door neighbor to producer.
No. Sometime eventually I'll get my own mic.
yeah. Just feel free to pass me a note if you have any comments, and I'll vet it and decide if it needs to be said on mic.
Yeah, well, he's in the studio. Yeah, there's
right.
there's a glass wall
yeah.
between us and him.
There's a very
obviously.
professional setup here. So we watched the next 2 episodes of Twin Peaks. So if you're watching not on Netflix, it's probably listed as episode 1 and 2 because of weird production things. If you're watching on Netflix, which you totally should, it's just episode 2 and 3 of season 1. Episode 2 originally aired April 12th, 1990. Was written by Mark Frost and David Lynch and directed by Dwayne Dunham. Crazy. And then episode 3 was originally aired April 19th, 1990, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch and directed by David Lynch. The second of 6 episodes that David Lynch directs. The first being the pilot.
Just the first season?
No, in the entire first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks. Yeah. So
interesting.
We'll make sure to earmark those as we go forward. And mainly I'm just doing this because I'm fascinated by TV shows. They're operated so much differently than something like a movie where it's a singular vision. And so you get a lot more people sitting in the director's chair, writing episodes, all of that. So I don't know that we're going to have a ton of insights on a lot of that stuff, but it's just fun to note and kind of see kind of what happens.
See if there's patterns outside of Lynch because he is so specific.
Right.
His episode felt different from the first one that we watched.
For sure.
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, let's... Mitchell has our recap for this week. So even if you haven't watched, you're about to learn everything you need to know. So listen up.
It's all going to make so much sense. Agent Cooper talks to himself about his non-smoking motel room hanging upside down in his undies. Coop has a very specific breakfast order with great coffee, and a foxy young thing introduces herself. Jumping on a random subject, the scene just kind of randomly ends. Sheriff stuffs his face while Cooper asks for 50 things. Autopsy guy gives us the Laura Palmer rundown of injury. Leo, the mean truck driver that looks like the villainous Icelandic hockey coach from Mighty Ducks 2, treats Shelley like dirt. She does his laundry and finds his bloody shirt. Coop interviews motorcycle guy James. He becomes a primary suspect for like 5 minutes. He reveals that Laura does coke and was upset leading up to her murder and ran from him that night. Flashback. Laura speaks, giving James half of a heart necklace. Then Dumb Jock Bobby and the Snake are in jail talking about being in risky business with Leo Johnson. Donna tells her mom she loves James Hurley and about his scandalous affair with Laura. Surprisingly touching moment and emotional despite the weird music. Ed picks up James, who turns out to be his nephew. Ed got roofied before the bar fight. Cooper raves about the food. Old pirate Bryce Dallas Howard brags about her drapes and cotton ball invention. She is committed to this character. Cooper lets the jocks go and threatens them if they touch James Hurley. Sherlock and Watson come to the Josie about the last time she saw Laura Palmer. Coop surmises that Harry is hitting that. Mill lady is having an affair with the rich resort guy. They want to arson the mill. They get 70s porn frisky. Laura and Donna's mom mourn together. Mrs. Palmer sees Laura's face on Donna, and then a randomly creepy man shows up in the corner and she starts to scream uncontrollably. Cops interview Ronette's parents. One-armed man wanders the hospital. Audrey grews to loud music. Her stepfather scolds her about that and influencing the Norwegians. They have some serious relationship problems. Major Stargate tries to parent Bobby, speaking literally, complimenting and criticizing his rebellion. Meanwhile, at the RR Diner, Cooper and the sheriff need more pie in the names of Laura's Meals on Wheel patrons. Log Lady hints that her log has some info. What in the hell? Leo abuses Shelley. Donna introduces James to her parents. Mike and Bobby drive by. In a beach-themed room, Dr. Jacoby listens to Laura Palmer tape where she calls James sweet and boring. He also has a coconut with half of the heart necklace inside. At the Horn family dinner, Uncle Jerry is back from Paris with sandwiches. Ben Horn eats sandwiches like a monster, and Jerry gets the rundown on what's been going on. Don is going to church in the morning. A short boat ride brings Ben and Jerry to the cabin brothel. Ben gets first dibs on the new girl. Donna and James engage in a very guilty love confession makeout. Cooper gets the latest about Ronette before getting a mysterious note left at his door. Bobby and Switchblade Mike go into the forest to get the drug-filled football, but Leo is there and wants payment. Leo knows his boo is stepping out on him. Ed steps on his wife's invention and drips grease on him. She turns out to be very strong. Idiot Bobby stops by for a quickie and discovers Leo's abuse. Cooper has a mobile office in the woods with donuts and a chalkboard. They measure stuff and learn about Tibetan dream rock throwing for suspects. Donna's fam eats at the diner while Audrey comes walking in. The girls talk coffee and Laura, then Audrey dances. No, seriously, she just starts dancing. Albert Rosenfield and his team are here. Albert's a dick, and the sheriff threatens him. Ed arrives home. His psycho wife appreciates him greasing her balls for silent curtains. Sawmill-owning couple argues. Josie looks in a safe. Mr. Palmer puts on a record to dance and scream and sob with Laura's picture. Mama Palms tries to join in and breaks the picture. Big band music persists and blood gets on Laura's face. Cooper has a dream. Here's the dream. Red curtains. Laura's mom, Laura. Train boxcar. Creepy guy talks about a missing arm. Creepy guy from Laura's mom's vision appears talking about killing. Candles around dirt. Cooper in a chair with curtains on a black and white floor with Laura. Little person in a red suit rubs his hands together. Wait, it's not Laura. It's the guy's cousin, apparently. The guy, they barely speak. Jazz music plays and the little guy starts to dance. What in the hell? Laura's clone kisses Cooper. He awakes saying he knows who killed her, but it can wait until the morning.
That's
wow.
it.
Well done.
Well done.
That's everything.
I honestly forgot how much we just watched.
A lot. It was like these summaries, but man, there's a lot.
There's a lot going on.
So one thing I did want to note, we're not going to talk a ton about production stuff, but I think there's something really fascinating about these couple episodes of Twin Peaks. So these were shot a year after the pilot,
right?
And Dwayne Dunham, who directed the first episode we watched tonight, he edited the pilot. He edited for David Lynch Blue Velvet, and also he edited Return of the Jedi.
Whoa.
He's the editor for that film, and basically the way that they met was George Lucas wanted David Lynch to direct Return of the Jedi, and David Lynch was like, I don't want to, and his agent was like, just go to the ranch, and so he went to the ranch, and George Lucas was like, I really want you to direct Return of the Jedi, and David Lynch was like, I'm just here to hang out at your ranch.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, he really, which is
what
I can't imagine the world we would be living in if David Lynch had directed Return of the Jedi. But yeah, and so after the pilot, basically. They didn't know if they were going to have jobs, so Dwayne Dunham booked some other stuff, and during that time, David Lynch was filming Wild at Heart and really wanted him to edit this movie Wild at Heart with Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage, and Dwayne Dunham was like, I can't, I'm doing this other thing, and he's like, I really want to direct things. I really want to become a director, and so David Lynch promised him he could direct this episode if he would come edit Wild at Heart, and then Dwayne Dunham directed several episodes of Twin Peaks going forward. But also, this is just a really random thing. Other movies he's directed since then, Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, which I'm sure probably all of us have seen. I don't know if you saw that. We watched that a ton growing up. Do you not remember that?
I don't remember.
Riley doesn't remember that. But you will remember one of these. So Little Giants was also directed by Dwayne Dunham. And
are you kidding me?
The Disney Channel original movie, Halloween Town. That's S tier Disney Channel original movie Dwayne Dunham is responsible for. And so just so you know, I'm definitely putting Halloween Town in the Twin Peaks extended universe. I don't know the connections quite yet, but
There'll be
I'll
a bonus
be doing a
pot
lot
on
of
our
research.
Patreon for Halloween Town. I'm so ready for that.
Anyway, so I just thought that was a really interesting. That's probably not interesting to anyone but me. But yeah. So let's get into these episodes because we got a lot to cover.
Is there anything I got wrong? Is there? I just feel like So much made so much sense.
I don't think so. Not that it's sticking out to me. I'm sure there was something, but it's not like sticking out to me in any way.
I got most of the names this time. I was really proud.
Yeah. So let's kind of get to where the investigation currently stands. A lot of the suspects that were introduced into the pilot have been cleared mostly, like Mike and Bobby and James have all been cleared by Cooper using his innate sense and weird
Not
interrogation
by actual
methods.
evidence. Yeah, he didn't do it.
But yeah, and so I guess for you guys, who are your persons of interest at this point in this case? Is there anyone that stands out for you guys?
Obviously Theo, because he...
Leo,
not Theo.
It's okay.
I was like, shit.
You guys don't know. You guys don't know who Theo is?
Theo Huxtable.
Oh, it's because they call him Theodore in the show. I just gave him a
Right,
nick-
or Teddy when it's nighttime.
Okay, Leo. They found some bloody clothes in his truck, and his
Right.
truck. I remember his truck being in. Oh my goodness! What
In
was
that
the awful
book?
name of that magazine?
Flesh World.
Flesh World.
Flesh World.
He's the number one person of interest. As far as the person, I don't know, characters who I love the most is Eye Patch Woman and Uncle what's his name? Uncle Jerry.
Uncle Jerry, yes.
They're the ones I'm looking forward to see. I really hope they're canon, like they're like main characters.
Oh, their arcs are long. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. But yeah, those are pretty great. Nadine has invented silent drape runners, which I think that's one of my favorite scenes in these episodes is her demonstrating them to Ed, because it is literally just completely silent. The biggest smile, just pulling those drapes back and forth.
Like just drapes out of all things.
Yeah. How it starts
To be
she
obsessed
walks
over.
in, she's like, Ed!
And she literally runs. Like
I
it reminded
thought
me.
she was going to jump kick him.
It reminded me of the shot in Us where the dude's just sprinting towards
yes.
him in the
Yeah,
forest.
yeah.
I was like, it's kind of scary.
It is for sure.
And then it just transitions to that. And,
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that seems great.
Yeah, so we've already gotten a payoff at this point. We're only 3 episodes in. Wow. They've already paid off one of the greatest moments that they set up in the pilot. Is this woman obsessed with drape runners? Like people are like, where the hell is this going to go? And it's like she's totally going to invent
She
silent
finally
drape
does
runners.
it.
Yeah, finally her story can be told. But yeah, any other? I guess let's just start with any other. I don't know how to do this because I feel like there's one moment in particular that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about.
Definitely.
So outside of the end of that episode, what were some other things that stood out to you guys?
I have a lot of like. I know you said you didn't want to talk a lot about production.
Yeah, but for sure. Yeah.
There's just I guess it's more with like editing and writing.
Yeah,
of the show.
That stuff's fine. Yeah, I was talking.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So not necessarily about the story, but it's interesting that you mentioned the editor because I guess with the show in general is there are a lot of very, very like dark, serious moments, and I feel like there are more in these last 2 episodes than there were in the pilot. And like it's like very uneasy sometimes, but I think that uneasiness is even more present because of the like they catch you off guard with like legitimately funny scenes and just like weird. Every single character makes the most extreme choice they could possibly do in that situation, and everyone is all in, and I really love it. Like I love that aspect about it.
Yeah.
But it like catches me off guard when there's like a funny scene and then directly after that they're talking about like Laura's murder in detail and things like that. And it's just, or the scene where his mom and his dad or her mom and her dad just kind of break down and have these moments of almost insanity. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and that's those are 2 scenes that I think I love this. I love any scene that takes place in the Palmer's house, because they're really. It's kind of this. It's the nexus of all that emotion that we're seeing out in the town. You know what I mean? This is where that murder hits closest to home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those scenes, particularly the one with Leland and Sarah, where Leland is listening to the music, I feel like in that scene itself, they're playing with these extremely opposite tones. You know, the song Pennsylvania 65000 playing to soundtrack this man's breakdown as he dances with a picture of his dead daughter is haunting. Like, and I do think that's notable too, and is particularly the last episode we watched tonight, the David Lynch directed one. There are a lot of scenes where the camera isn't moving, we're not cutting, we're just seeing a lot of action from one angle. And the whole setup to the first part of that scene, you know, we see him enter the room, puts on the record, walks over to the picture, all of that, we're never looking away from that, we're never breaking. And so I really feel like you're in those moments. And then there's those abrupt cuts like the one with Sarah where she's hugging Donna thinking that it's Laura. She's seen Laura's face on Donna's. Yeah. And then you have that abrupt
beautifully
cut.
rotoscoped.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then you're cutting to that. You have that abrupt cut of her seeing who we now know, Bob, at the foot of a bed or something. You know what I mean? Like seeing that kind of vision or something of him. It's really effective. I love those scenes so much.
Or there are just weird choices with like transitions between scenes. Sometimes they're more abrupt, but I remember there was one, I think it was in the first episode, where it showed that video of Laura that we keep seeing. Yeah. But it kind of gave like a close up on Laura's face, and it held that for like a really long time. And then there was that like, help me. And it was like, very eerie. It was very, very eerie, especially for like a scene transition.
Yeah, because it's separate from. No one's watching that video like we are watching that video, and it's an odd thing for sure.
It's interesting because we're moving between all these different tones and these people, and it's easy to get lost in the relationship dynamics because we continue to discover connections, and maybe some of them were in the pilot and I just missed them, but we keep finding out more affairs, more people are related, and I don't know how many of their connections or the random moments those characters are going to bear out through plot, because then you have the separate thing where Cooper, who I would say overall took a slight step back, like I didn't feel like the second half of the pilot, it feels like it's all him. And so this felt a little lighter on him. And it took me a while to warm up, but now I'm all in. He loves pie. I love pie. But when you think about, if I isolate his scenes and his actions and what they have to do with Laura's death, like you said, we kind of realized it's probably not James or Bobby. She's clearly a little bit more involved in this drug underworld that Bobby is involved in. And so I'm trying to isolate those moments and see where they're connected. But then when you have the conspiracy level of all the business dealings, like the big money, the adults, the weird brothel thing, clearly that stuff, I don't know if there's a connection between the drugs and the brothel, but like clearly there's some bigger money things going on with the parent level that clearly could have come down and impacted the murder. Right. And I got to say, I am dying to know who killed Laura Palmer. It is killing me, and I hate that Google knows it because I'm like, you cannot Google anything to do with this.
That's I was telling them, just don't Google anything yet. There's plenty of time for Google. I've spent years on Google at this point after seeing, and there's plenty of information to dig into.
I feel like after season 1 and 2, we're gonna need some reading recommendations from you of things that are safe and interesting to look at about the initial run before we get into the return.
Yeah, and maybe I'll probably collect some like articles or wiki entries.
Like you said, there's books of oral histories of the show.
Yes, yeah. So we'll have to kind of post some of that and have some reading lists. There is an interesting thing is that there were 2 books released between seasons 1 and 2 of this show. One written by David Lynch's daughter, which is The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. And the second one was written by Mark Frost's brother, Scott Frost, called The Autobiography of Dale Cooper, which is just transcriptions of his recorder for years before Twin Peaks happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So that one's out of print, and it costs like $35 to get it, but there's also PDFs online. I don't own that one. I almost bought it this week.
For that.
I almost did.
I can't believe they're just like, these people adjacent to production. It's like, expand our universe a little here. Go for
it. But yeah, so there's tons of stuff to dig into with this stuff, and I think it really is interesting. I do wonder, like watching this show, the biggest things on primetime TV around this time were soap operas. They were these like multi-dimensional, huge ensemble casts, all this intrigue, and I wonder like if that audience watching Twin Peaks picks up on that stuff easier than I do now. You know what I mean? Because it really is. I've watched this show several times, and there's still like I'm still kind of piecing those threads together and kind of understanding the intricacies of like these weird conspiracies that people are involved in and the drug money and everything. So that is a really interesting aspect of this show, I think, especially for modern audience, like an audience now who wasn't raised on soap operas or you know, stuff like that. So
I wonder how jarring it was to go back and forth between like Dallas or Dynasty and something like this. And I've actually seen a little bit of I don't know if you guys they're big on simulcast primetime soaps, and they had cult followings like Who Killed JR? Like you may have no idea about anything about Dallas, but you've probably heard that phrase. I wonder how people took this, and if they were trying to examine it the same way, and David Lynch was just enjoying being like, yeah, you're wasting your time. But in our day and age, primetime soaps, whether they be for teens or adults, still fairly common.
Right.
And honestly, in this episode, I noticed a lot of similarities with Pretty Little Liars, which I watched the first 2 seasons of. And that is, it's also a whodunit initially, and it gets really weird and twisty, and I don't know how much this will go in that direction, but it makes me see some of the, like, this show clearly had some influence on that, which is super interesting.
Well, and I see there's a show I haven't watched, Riverdale, that's on TV right now. I hear people reference a lot to, kind of in being.
I watched the first couple seasons of that as well.
Yeah, that's exactly.
that.
I've heard that exact same thing multiple times.
So let's talk about some of the minor characters real quick. We kind of touched on Nadine. She's completed her hero's journey, invented the silent drape runner. Thank God. I know that's what we are all worried about at the end of the first episode.
Can I just say she makes her and Log Lady right now for like pound for pound screen time for effect, killing it.
Yeah,
Killing
great.
it.
I want to take the temperature on Log Lady. What is everyone's opinion of Log Lady as a character?
I think she knows everything.
Okay, yeah.
All the information she stores in her log. She's just waiting for someone brave enough to talk to it.
That's a 128 megabit drive. It's that big from 1990. It stores all of the secrets of Twin Peaks on it.
It's so bizarre. Right. It's like doesn't belong in a serious story, but it's there.
New prediction.
Prediction.
There's a tape in the log.
Tape.
There's a little like tape recorder tape in the log, and at some point in the series, Dale Cooper is going to open the log and find the tape to put in his tape recorder, and he's going to play it, and there's going to be information on there.
Yes.
Ooh,
good prediction. Good prediction.
I could see something in the log. Like at this point, I don't know what's
I'll
going to
almost
happen.
be disappointed
So,
if
like,
there's not something big with the log.
Like it's kind of like there's always money in the banana stand of this show.
Yeah.
There's literally something in the log. There's literally someone in the log that you can ask a question to.
It begs the question, like, how weird is this show going to get? Are we going to get people who we thought were dead that
Did
are
you
alive?
see the ending?
Doppelgangers. Okay, but that was a dream. That was a dream. I'm wondering what things that come out, like, I know there's going to be some supernatural things, but I want to know, like, okay, how, not just how supernatural, but, like, how twisty in, like, a bizarre way is our answers going to be. Like, something being in a log wouldn't shock me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at this point, like, honestly, nothing's shocking me. Like, when, I can't remember her name, the patch lady, when she came running down, I said I thought she was going to drop kick Ed. That wouldn't have shocked me.
Yeah,
right, that's
sure,
an absolute
like,
possibility.
I was like, he's going to go through the window. She's going to blame him for the drapes. I see it all happening. But
She's
yeah,
going to suffocate him with the drapes one day.
no, the show has a lot of interesting side characters who, from the tiniest, like, log lady who has had, like, hardly any screen time, but has such a huge... She has intros on the show, apparently, for the DVD.
Right,
like,
yeah, that's,
From stuff like that to, like, just characters that I wonder, like, okay, why are you in this story? And I think some of that was answered tonight for me a little bit, like characters like Leo.
Right.
We saw him for some reason in the porn mag, which I don't know if that's ever going to be, like, answered satisfactory, or if it was just, like you said last week, a dope-ass transition. But, so I'm pretty sure he's the one who sold the cocaine to Laura.
Okay.
He seems to be the established drug dealer in town to all the teens.
Right, yeah.
It was like 10,000. So were they distributing for him?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it seemed to me. Is like Laura and Bobby and Mike. Is that Bobby's friend's name?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
Mike.
kind of dating Donna, even though everyone's in love with James. Yeah, I mean, so I was very confused at like they owed him money, but was it for the drugs they hadn't picked up yet, or other ones they had, and she had some of the money? It's a little confusing, and that's like that feels directly like applicable. Nadine and Ed, like other than Ed being James' uncle, I'm like, I wonder if we were just seeing their lives to see their lives. I think there are many of those side mini plots that you're talking about that I just don't know if they're ever going to have any bearing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering too.
Yeah.
So some of those ones that aren't answered, are they going to be? I feel like sometimes watching the show tonight, I felt very much like I'm one of these parents in this town, and all these teens have the fucking answers, and I have to get them out of them. Like, I'm pretty damn sure that, like, Donna and James, I mean, clearly they already knew stuff that other people didn't. I think Donna knows a hell of a lot more. I think Audrey knows a hell of a lot more. I am positive Leo and Bobby and Mike all know a hell of a lot more.
Right.
And I think that connection of him giving Laura the drugs would be something that leads. And they even make a comment. He's like, she was into like some really fucked up stuff, and he's like, you have no idea, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so he knows something. Also, when something's answered in the show, it does a good job of bringing up new things. Like in that moment in the drug deal, you've got that figure behind the tree with the mask on, and we still don't know who that is. Another side character is really interesting, who seems to like there's going to be a big part to play, is Dr. Jacoby.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We only had that one scene in these 2 episodes where he's listening to, apparently Laura's sending him tapes, and it's unclear exactly the meaning of the tapes, like if it was necessarily if they're like kind of there's like a sexual relationship going on there, or if it started as like just a patient, like that was part of her therapy, or if it was him manipulating her. Like there's lots to unpack there. But in it she says some interesting things of like being fed up with James for how stupid he is, but she's still in love with him, and also
He's not even her first boyfriend. He's number 2 right now.
She also says something interesting about, what was it there? Maybe that was a different scene.
Well, Audrey mentions her dad used to sing to Laura or something. Like they talk about that, and she asks Donna, like, did Laura ever mention my dad? And Donna's like, what are you talking about? You know, so there's like there's all these connections, and it's really interesting because I feel like especially at the beginning of the show, we kind of talked about this last week, is Laura Palmer is defined by her relationships to other people. And everyone had a vastly different relationship, it seems, than everyone else, or everyone thought they had something very special with her. Well, especially the men in the town. Almost every man in the town, apparently, feels they had this special connection with her. And it's a really fascinating thing, because I feel like, you know, as the show goes on, we'll obviously learn more about Laura Palmer and what was actually going on. But like right now, it's really easy for you to just see her as this metaphor for like this perfect woman or something.
Yeah, they go out of their way in just the episodes so far to be like, oh, she was helping the kid with the mental illness. She started the Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
She's curing cancer.
She's way into cocaine.
She beat Jesus in a foot race.
That's only
like,
the only way she
all
can
this
stay
different
awake to
stuff.
accomplish all of these things. You guys think cocaine is on Wall Street for abusive reasons, but really it's so they can work hard.
But she does. Oh, I remember what she mentions in the tape. She mentions, that strange man. And no indication of who that could be.
She mentioned like the woods.
Yeah, I might just go back out and get lost in
the
those woods again. That was one of those moments that was like really eerie for me. Anytime you hear a dead person's voice, it's always creepy.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, especially when they're like saying shit that like your perception of them has changed. I think that's always like a big weird heavy moment. And just how fucking weird Dr. Jacoby is. And he's
Dude
like
loves Hawaii.
holding that coconut by his junk while he's listening to this tape is just like.
If you could decorate 22 rooms in your house, would one of them be just like his?
I don't think so.
Really? I was kind of into it.
After the show, no.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he turns out to be the hero. We don't know.
It's true. We don't know.
It did. That also opened up. I was starting to think, like, is there going to be someone who like has amnesia? Is there going to be something where somebody knows something but they've forgotten that they know it. I just feel like we could get something super weird, like Donna was actually there for everything but doesn't know because.
Yeah.
And we have Ronette in a coma who
Right.
possibly, because she shows some similar signs, like could have been there. She could be in the same situation. I theorized last time in Stand By that I think that's a separate situation, but
Okay.
she may have a lot to do with Laura. And she may wake up and remember things, but more likely she wakes up and doesn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is crazy. And we haven't really touched on the whole the Packard sawmill, which is maybe the most soap opera plot
Yes.
going on in this show right now, because it involves
Old people sex. I'll say it. It's disgusting. Toe sucking, wrinkle face toe sucking.
It's really off-putting.
And that music and just the way she was they use some phrase over and over again and I can't get
yeah.
it. It's just,
I will say I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's Lori Piper, the actress that plays Catherine Martell.
Mrs. Martell.
Her yes.
Prince
Oh
Doran Martell.
Yeah, Pete Martell, man, is now Mr. Martell.
Yes. But her voice, the way she delivers, she like has a gravitas that no one else has in this show. Like it's like she's been performing Shakespeare in front of very old people for years and years and years and just has this presence that is amazing. Like even when she delivers lines like, "There's mink oil in your head." Your head has mink oil in it. Whatever she says,
Right.
like she says it with such a conviction that I don't even question.
That at first you're like,
how
oh,
dumb
got
that
him.
was.
Oh, wait, that no.
There are some scenes in the show where they speak Shakespearean like, and then there's somewhere
and some literal Shakespeare.
that is literal
in,
Shakespeare
in
these
in
episodes.
this episode.
but there's some like also very heightened literary discussion how people would not talk, but then they put in like this Gilmore Girls-esque banter. And like you said, she speaks their conversation and what they were doing. That randomly happens a few times, and it's not always the same characters. And it's just really interesting how you have these different types of dialogue, because sometimes you get these long scenes with people who actually don't say much, and it's just the most dumb, contrived one-liners, and it's jarring.
Yeah. It really is. It's so fascinating. Like I think that's one of the coolest things about this show is the tone like puts you off balance. Like
Yes.
it's not as inviting. I think as a lot of shows are. Like you have to be willing to lean in just a little bit
100%.
to this show.
Yeah.
And
Like there are certain scenes where I literally feel like I'm watching like a parody movie. I feel like I'm watching like Airplane or
Right.
something, and I'm like, this is the oddest like slapstick, sometimes kind of like humor, and then it just like flip flops in an instant, and
Right.
it's really dark
Yeah.
and like disturbing.
Yeah.
And you definitely do have to like lean in and be like, all right, like I just have to accept this and enjoy it.
Right.
And it is very enjoyable.
Well, yeah. So let's kind of talk about. Is there anything else not involving Cooper that we want to talk about? Because I figure we'll just kind of trace his stuff to the end of these episodes.
I feel like I'm sure we're missing things.
The two scenes I want to talk about are all Cooper.
Or Cooper? Okay, cool.
We should brush over like with the mill.
Yeah.
It seems like that relationship. He owns the big hotel, and he was trying to sell just a development, I believe, to the
Right.
Norwegians. And he's got this psycho brother. They go to this brothel where
Yeah, we forgot to talk about that.
Yeah.
there are all these women in very odd get-ups, and then they flip a coin to see who gets to go with a new girl, but they took a boat there.
Yeah.
And then there's a woman in black who seems to be a dominatrix of some sort, but that has like zero context. But those guys seem very malicious, right? And he has a daughter who's clearly vindictive as well. And so that, I don't know how that merges with the other plot, but the whole idea of they lost money for shutting down the sawmill for a while. She inherited it from her dead husband, and Catherine doesn't want her involved. Like, that's all got to mean something, but we didn't really talk on it. But now they're talking about burning it down, and
Right.
she doesn't want to have to deal with the sawmill anymore. And it's like a very dangerous, odd subplot.
Right.
And Pete hands Josie the key to
Yeah.
the ledger. Does anyone know why? Because I had no idea.
So,
Are we supposed to know at this point?
so it's kind of referenced a couple times. Catherine, when she's with Ben, mentions creative arithmetic, which means that she's probably cooking the books
Gotcha,
somehow.
yeah.
And when Josie goes and finds those ledgers in the safe, there's 2 ledgers, not just one. And that's kind of like so one of those is Catherine's magic ledger, that she's doing stuff in, and the other one would be the real one. So yeah, that's like the thing that's like, I think mentioned, but you really have to like be listening for that stuff.
And Josie's with the sheriff, which it seems like a lot of people know.
Yeah,
'Cause it's not an affair.
But it
seems to be
right.
not out in the open. Right?
Yeah, it's maybe not as like kosher. Like it's maybe a weird thing.
Your husband just died.
But yeah, I will say it's funny because you see all these affairs, and then like 85% of them you realize everyone already knows about. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows about Norma and Ed. And
it seems
most
like
people
Bobby
know
knew about Laura.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of feels that way. And then Leo, our truly evil character, kind of knows
bastard.
about Shelley, but doesn't necessarily know it's Bobby. And before this, I don't think we knew that Bobby was involved with Leo at all.
Yeah.
I don't think we knew that before.
I don't think we knew that either.
Maybe
it was referenced.
He was
a little in the
driving
book, I can't remember.
to sleep with his wife.
Oh,
Right,
no, we
yeah.
knew
And
that he was involved with her. I don't think we knew that they were doing drug stuff
They're
together.
directly
no,
connected.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there's so many little subplots I'm sure we missed.
I do want to get a real quick roundtable question for everyone.
yeah.
When handed a foot-long sub sandwich, where do you take your first bite,
Oh,
Tyler Harris?
I'm an end. I'm gonna bite on the end, but on the top of the end and eat.
Which
down.
way is the opening facing, left or right?
Opening up. I eat it like a taco.
No, like
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like the fold. Like
Yeah.
you fold
Yeah.
open the sandwich, you close it. The seam on the
on the top, like a taco,
like the guy just did in the show.
but not
he's
biting
eating
in the
from the
middle.
very end.
Yeah, but I'm eating from the end on the top, so
So the
stuff doesn't
side?
fall out.
So the side. So you like corn on the cob.
I'm okay. Here's the thing: I'll hold it like you would hold a taco, perpendicular to your face. Then turn it towards you. I turn my head and bite on that end.
I think we need to get a taco because I don't hold tacos like that.
How are you supposed
Like
to
a
eat
sub
it?
sandwich, he eats it from the back, but the opening of the 2 pieces of bread is facing up like this. So he goes like, "Ah." I just
Wait, how do you eat it?
bit
You
my
explain how you eat it.
Okay, this is my sandwich. Okay, I'm at Subway.
This is
And-
working great for anyone listening.
I'm holding my notebook sideways.
What does that mean? To Jimmy John's or Jersey Mike's.
Lettuce, tomato, green peppers, all that shit.
Okay, we know about the ingredients.
They close it like this, okay? Top bun, bottom bun, shit, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, a shit sandwich
Now-
is what you're talking about.
I make sure my hand is closing all the sides so nothing falls out, and I go like this.
Okay, just imagine
that's
So
that.
it's
normal.
flat.
Yeah.
It's
what you
sitting on the bottom
What you
bun.
just described to me was this.
No,
No. The end is still going to face your
biting the
face,
corner of the
but
notebook.
it's turning.
Okay, here's the sandwich sitting on the table. Okay, now the fold where the bread is connected is down, and I'm biting like this.
Okay. That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a little different than I do it, but it's...
I am so sorry.
I mean, you're forgiven.
That wasn't for you.
So Agent Cooper,
Send us pictures of yourself eating Subway sandwiches so we can resolve this. I don't know.
and guess what's back at Subway this month? It's the $5 footlong chicken teriyaki.
Oh, is it really?
No, I'm just making a fake sponsor.
I was trying to perpetuate the ad by being that
Oh
incredulous
man,
man in the ad.
you
didn't-
sold me.
Okay,
I was like, you're not a Subway
They got to get a replacement
guy.
for Jared, man. And we are that replacement.
Oh gosh.
Um,
Okay. Oh yeah. What did you have anything?
So the place they go after their sandwiches, they
Right.
go to the brothel in Canada, from what I heard.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Up north. So when they refer
Where
to
it's
north,
legal, eh?
anything
Where
north of
brothality
them
is
gonna be
super.
Canada.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Is,
Because there's a casino up there too.
Right.
is prostitution legal in Canada? Was it in the 90s?
I mean, I think when you live in a small enough and remote enough place,
I mean, all right. Anyway,
Less police.
so question. You don't have to answer this if it spoils anything. Is that if we were to follow them into the back room, do we then see the chevron pattern floor and the red curtains?
we will. I will say that we will see the back room of.
Okay.
We will see said room of One-Eyed Jack's coming up.
Okay.
That's a very interesting observation.
That is an
I
interesting
didn't
observation,
think of that at all, but
Of
they
where
are
that
both
room physically.
they're both very like red scenes, like that brothel, which is a sort of disturbing scene, very disturbing, because like this new girl or whatever that they're flipping the coin for seems very nervous. And
She looks like Laura Palmer.
It's
out
incredibly
of place,
uncomfortable.
and it's very, very uncomfortable. And they hold this one long, like, dolly shot as he just goes and walks towards her, and it is very uncomfortable.
Network TV.
I have a prediction about that brothel.
Prediction.
I think that Laura Palmer was like working at that brothel.
Okay.
Yeah, is
That
that
she
where
was
Flesh
like
Mag is
showing up there, and that's why
Yeah.
like Ben would sing to her because he would go see her there, and then he'd see her at his house and be like, "Hey," and then be creepy.
Yeah. Well,
That's
because
good.
So-
we've had
is really
several
good.
references to the perfume counter,
Mm-hmm.
both from the Horn
department
brothers. Yeah.
store.
So they talk. When Ben is talking to Jerry and he says, "There's a new girl at One Eyed Jack's, freshly scented from the perfume counter." And Ronette's parents talk
Right.
about her working at the perfume counter. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So there's definitely
That
some
one I put together.
stuff.
That one I did not, though.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Laura Palmer.
And
I am lost on all of this. This is new information.
Canadian brothels always have cocaine, but on the west
there's
side,
so much
not
snow
in
up
Ontario
there.
and Toronto.
They cut it with the snow.
Oh, one
The
thing
street value of this mountain.
one thing I did want to mention was we haven't talked about Albert yet, and that was a very like
talk about
that was a
Albert.
very short scene. I love his character.
Freaking Albert's the man.
But yeah, he's another FBI agent
Yeah.
coming to look at the body.
Yeah, forensic specialist, right? That's coming and
He just trashes the small town.
oh my gosh, one of my favorites. His scene with Lucy is one of my favorite things
Poor Lucy.
because it pays off so well at the end. Immediately when he turns around, Lucy sticks her tongue out at him in like the most childish way, and like, but you feel like she won somehow, like in that simple, But yeah, I love Albert. He's just the no nonsense. Hates being in this, like the exact opposite of Cooper.
Right.
And
I just love like the sheriff kind of puts Albert in his place,
Right.
And Cooper, he has like this boyish charm.
Yeah.
Where he's just kind of like watching everything. He's smiling the whole time. He's looking at Albert like he just finds him like entertaining.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, Cooper is great because he really is. He's the guy that when he introduces you to like himself to you, probably the second thing he tells you is that he's an Eagle Scout. Like that's the type of energy that Dale Cooper brings into a room. And but then he also, I mean, we've seen him. He flips the switch into this darker side as well, and is able to really explore these weird places. So let's talk about him. Let's kind of talk about what he does in this episode. This guy, if we didn't know it before now, we now know he loves coffee and cherry pie more
And
than anything.
He owns metal ankle bracelets with hooks on the end of them
Yes.
that are huge.
Yeah.
For what purpose you would use those in any other situation, I do not know.
Yeah, it's such a specific product. It's totally one of those 90s things where it's like, we need a new thing to sell this week on TV to people over their phones.
You need to get the blood to your head faster? Flip upside down.
Gravity's been pulling your blood to your feet for decades.
When that
time to
episode
turn
starts,
the
you hear
tables.
his voice. I'm like, he sounds different. And then I realized why.
He's upside down.
I thought it was like, oh yeah, this was shot a year later. No, it's just blood to your head.
Yeah.
That would suck to have to shoot.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure that like those takes sucked.
Yeah.
It's interesting. No one got recast.
No, I don't
didn't
think so.
Notice that.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Pretty
good.
Yeah.
I guess it's the 90s.
So something I think I've learned about Dale Cooper is like, well, one, dreams are very influential to
Right.
him.
Yes.
And he receives some sort of communication or feelings towards them. And he's like a kind of a superstitious person.
Mhm.
He's hanging upside down for what reason we don't know yet. I want to know. I hopefully like I don't know. But then he's like they're throwing the rocks at the bottle, and he's like, "This is what I learned in a dream."
Yeah.
And he's talking about Tibet and the Dalai Lama, and then we have the end of the episode we watched.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is worth noting as well. so we have heard about one of Cooper's dreams. We've seen one of Cooper's quote unquote dreams at the end of this episode. And the only other person that we've really seen with that type of connection is Sarah Palmer. It's less explicit, but she is seeing things that other people are not. We had at the end of the pilot, she apparently had that vision of the hand taking that locket. She sees Laura's face on Donna and then sees Bob. So there is this weird, and Cooper has also, at the end of this episode, he has seen Bob also. And so they're the only people who have seen this, but they've both seen the same person. Did we know
Bob's name?
They say it in
Yes,
Cooper's dream. Yeah.
This is the thing. This is the connection I made right as we sat down. I think it was a good time to bring it up.
Good.
The two names are mentioned in that dream, and it's of the guy she sees at the foot of the bed,
right?
And it's the one-armed guy.
Mm-hmm.
And their names are Mike and Bob, who are also the names of Mike and Bobby, who are
Okay,
two...
that's what I thought, but I was like, I'm such an idiot. I probably like messed up the names or something.
Yeah, no,
it's them from the future.
So, prediction. Time travel or alternate dimensions are involved. Timelines are going to be crossed. Other people are going to be coming into other realities from future selves or other dimensional selves. We're going full Rick and Morty on this bitch. And there are multiple Mikes and multiple Bobs. And they all killed Laura Palmer.
But there's multiple Lauras.
They're part of a religious cult called the Fire. And,
and they have a specific walk they do.
It's the Holy Spirit they're referencing that has caused them to be able to travel through dimensions, and that's their prayer. You know, fire, walk with me. So help me walk through the next dimension so I can kill Laura Palmer again. And there you have it.
Okay.
We don't need to watch this damn show.
Yeah, there's the prediction right there. You said in a paragraph what I have read hundreds of thousands of words on. I think we're done. So thanks everyone for coming.
Reddit, you can now delete the Twin Peaks page.
We can get rid of Reddit entirely because it only existed
in one dimension.
Twin Peaks theories.
Yeah, but that makes sense because in Coop's dream that he had, he was like way more wrinkly than he is in real life. Like you could tell that he was definitely aged in it, and so that would make sense that they're like older versions. Of Mike and Bobby.
Which is also interesting because he's so sure that they didn't do that. He lets them go. Was that the first episode we watched? Yeah.
Yeah.
He lets them go right off the bat. So if there is some connection there, that's interesting. And he does have some sort of supernatural ability.
And he wakes up and he says he's not in a rush to go get the killer, even though it's just because the killers haven't aged into the killers yet. They've got to get that age, go back in time, and kill present-day Laura.
He should have said, "It must wait. We must wait. We can't arrest them yet."
Looks like we got a few years to take in some more cherry pie.
But yeah,
how many slices we can eat in that time?
Let's let's kind of talk. We've talked around the Red Room, as we will call it. Man, I just want to. I don't want to say anything about it right now.
What they call the sex dungeon in 50 Shades of Grey?
I have no idea.
All right,
I'm glad I don't have that information ready.
By raise of hand for all of our listeners who has seen 50 Shades of Grey. Marcus.
All right. There was a Beyonce song and he couldn't resist. Okay, back to the Red Room with the floor that is like white and black squigglies, and there's some nice velvet-looking chairs. There's a Laura Palmer, maybe a doppelganger, and a little person in a nice red suit who's got some moves.
Yeah. We'll call him, the man from another place, as he's credited in the end credits of this episode.
Okay.
He's credited as the man from another place. So yeah, what are your impressions? I will say this has been one of my favorite experiences of watching things with people because I just felt the entire tone of the room change as this scene began. And was it Katie that was just what the fuck? It's just the voice of everyone in that room as this happened, and it is it's incredible. I just want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
So pre the Red Room, I think we already kind of discussed. We get some Mike and some Bob, and then we see the pile of dirt, which I couldn't tell was the pile of dirt where the necklace was, or if it was from the boxcar. No, and it has candles around it.
Right.
Okay. And then we know someone says "Fire, walk with me," and that's in that. And then we get to this room where, what the hell?
This was actually the only scene of Twin Peaks I'd ever seen, because
Yeah,
this is the
right,
scene
yeah.
Tyler showed me, and it's like the weird backwards speech, and it's an eerie scene.
Yeah, is
Like,
that how they filmed it? Did they film it backwards?
Yes. So they filmed
Oh.
that. They so David Lynch told Michael J. Anderson, who plays the man from another place, hey, we're gonna like revert, like I want you to get ready. We're gonna try to teach you how to say this stuff backwards. And he was like, oh, me and my friends in high school would say things backwards to like code what we were saying from other
No
people.
way.
So he was like, just give me the script, I'll be ready like in a couple hours. And so he was like teaching Cheryl Lee, who plays Laura Palmer. She is also in that scene, has to speak backwards, so he taught her how to do it. And so they are actually saying those lines backwards, and it's just reversed.
Whoa.
Well, they're filming that all backwards, and it's just reversed once, and then we're given the subtitles, obviously.
And that's crazy because like the performances, particularly by Laura Palmer, I feel like there's some like weird inflection moments that like feel like, I don't know, it would have been harder to do that way.
Right, for sure.
There's like this moment where she like tenses up and like kind of goes higher, and it's like really creepy and eerie, and it like works really well. To sell that scene.
Yeah. So good. I think that those performances are so interesting, and also it's fascinating to me. That scene is so interesting, and like so much of what is said in that scene comes off as complete gibberish. Like especially the man from another place has so many lines that are just seemingly these non sequiturs. He talks about where we come from. There's always music. The birds sing a pretty song. There's always music in the air.
As he was saying that, I was wondering. I wanted to ask you.
Oh, another thing I wanted to mention about this scene and like the things he was talking about. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm gonna forget this.
I thought you were just trying to finish my sentence, and I was like, "Wow, we're on the same wave here. We have a Dale Cooper sort of vibe."
There, like throughout the show, there's a lot of music during the scenes, but there's no music during this, and it is very eerie. At least for the first part when they're having a conversation.
Yeah, until the very end of that scene, for
So
sure.
it throws you off a loop.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to say. Then I was going to add those non sequiturs. He says, if we were to finish this whole thing and I were to watch that scene again, would those make sense to me?
Yes, in a way. So there's a lot of
it's still metaphorical, maybe, but
there's so much riddle stuff kind of embedded in that. And we'll talk there's a lot of lines in there. The line that gum you like is going to come back into style. Has like 2 or 3 different readings that could apply to stuff that's to come.
Okay.
There's the where we're from, that also has some pretty heavy implications going forward, but they're probably things we won't see for another 25 or 30 episodes. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of this stuff is going to be tied kind of throughout the rest of the show.
This is what I want from this show.
Yeah.
I really love this.
So this really does become a linchpin for a lot of the mythology and stuff of this show that we'll kind of learn as we go forward. And it's hard to talk about it in too much detail because there'll just be things that we'll kind of learn as we go forward.
I have another theory thought.
Is this a prediction?
I don't know if
Theory
it's
thought.
I don't know if it's a prediction.
I just need to download it.
I'm wondering if we might be seeing multiple timelines.
Okay.
Maybe
said
it's
that
because
one.
did you?
What are you
Yeah.
talking
Well, you
about?
went like the full dimensions and time travel thing. I wonder if we were just
I
seeing
get what you're saying.
two different timelines, and they're jumping back and forth, and they work in a way where, and I'm kind of getting that because this show. Another show that tries to be really seedy and tricky and random while it tries to take itself way too seriously is Westworld. But that just made me, because that does way too much with timelines in a way that actually bothers me. I'm wondering if there's just anything that we are seeing out of place.
Gotcha.
Because we've already talked about maybe having an older version of 2 of our characters. I wonder if there's anything else we're seeing that actually happens before or after other events that are going on.
Okay.
That could be completely not, but I'm ready for it.
Okay, so you're saying that the timelines, I'm kind of trying to understand exactly where you're thinking the timelines are. So you're saying that like Cooper in the Red Room, like that's a timeline thing? Or
No, I
what
think that's a dream.
Okay.
I'm saying we could literally be seeing like the actions of certain characters happening at a different time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
How far separated are you thinking? Because I feel like everyone's mentioned Laura Palmer's death as a recent event.
That's true, but I wonder if that is considered a recent event for 5 years.
No, that's what I'm wondering.
Gotcha.
And there are certain things that you're right. I don't know. I'd have to think back to those scenes if there's anything that could have possibly happened before Laura died. We've had a couple of flashbacks that have been very straightforward. This is a flashback. So maybe that means they're not messing with it, but it just would not surprise me. I wonder if anything is a misdirect right now.
No, that's super
If any of these storylines are a misdirect.
Right. Yeah.
We should be keep track of all of our theories here, and at the end of season 2, we'll
all
go
of
out
our
some
fans
cookies.
will do that for us. They'll remind us in the comment section.
The comment section.
Tweet at us.
Yes. But I mean, any other thoughts kind of on the Red Room? I was pleased that we got to the end of that and everyone felt maybe more bought in than they were prior to that scene, which is definitely the way I felt when I finally got to that episode. It took me multiple tries really to get through these first 3 episodes years ago, but yeah.
When did you first watch these?
It was like 7 years ago, I guess. It was like right when I got home. So yeah, it would have been like 2012. But yeah, cool. Well, there's a lot to unpack and think about. We're going to be covering more episodes next week. We'll be covering 3 episodes.
Whoa.
So then, and then 2 weeks from now, we'll be covering the last 2 episodes of the season. So 2 weeks from now will be the end of season 1. We'll kind of get some.
We've kind of talked about things that season 1 and 2 are kind of a package deal, but season 2 is so much longer and has maybe more convolution in it. Season 1 clearly not tight. Whatever it's going to be, it is not going to be this tight wrapped up bow. But are we going to get resolutions to a lot of these storylines by the end of episode 8? Like if they would have canceled it
after the first season, no,
okay,
not necessarily.
I mean, they probably would have done the movie anyway, but I guess at that point. But I'm just wondering if I don't need everything to be neatly tied up. I just wonder, like, are there payoffs? Like, is it a finale with excitement?
There's some exciting things in the finale for sure. It's definitely when you watch it, you'll be like, yeah, if I watched this, I would be like, 6 more months before I watched another episode. You know what I mean? Like,
what was the production reason for only 8 episodes? I know we've talked about this, but
I honestly don't remember. That's just the order they got after the pilot was for 7 episodes.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. I mean, this was airing in like April, so it was kind of maybe towards the end of a cycle there, you know what I mean, for that show. And then
I wonder if they tested the waters. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a big part of it. I know that Bob Iger was the guy who was at ABC at the time that fought for Twin Peaks a lot.
Oh, wow.
And
now look what he's doing.
Yeah, it like the stories you hear are like it was Bob Iger and 8 like really old men who hated this show.
Yeah.
And Bob Iger got this show on the air, which is kind of awesome. But yeah. So there's going to be, the soap opera antics will continue. There's some great stuff going forward, and of course we'll always have Cooper there to bring us back into the loving arms of the FBI. I don't know. But yeah, any final thoughts on these episodes?
There's just a lot of information for me. I feel there is a lot of information, and I still sometimes I don't know what to hold on to.
Yeah,
like Mitchell said, is it a misdirect? Is it actually pertinent? Are these questions going to get answered? So these are definitely going to have to take multiple viewings on my end, at least, just because like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that you make it seem like take episodes and episodes in the future to answer.
Yeah. Well, and also there are things that I've picked up on watching this show again.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely a show that you can rewatch over and over and unpack stuff more and more. Because by the time we get to the end of Twin Peaks, very much is at this point how you feel that it's a much different show than you thought it was going to be. By the time we get to the end of the return, it's going to be an even different beast. And so to come back to like these episodes with that perspective is kind of crazy. Like it's really weird and interesting. So there's just a lot to unpack for sure.
The return is really interesting because if this premiered, in some ways this is more accessible to today's television because there's just so much more content and weird stuff.
Yeah.
In other ways, I just want like, what would the online discussion of this be? What happens if Twitter and Reddit are around
for sure
during this one's original run? And it's interesting because I know the return is supposed to be super kooky, and that was around for that. And I think that might be a nice payoff for all the nerds who watched this originally. But I gotta tell you, maybe I'm a little jaded, but I'm just enjoying it. I am looking for things naturally, but I'm not looking to break. Like, it's like watching Inception and trying to understand Inception, man. Of course, the general mystery is there for me, but I'm just gonna roll.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna ride with it.
Yeah, well, and that's what I think is great about this show too. Is if you're even if you're just casually watching this show, there's enough like ridiculous dumb shit, like watching Andy get hit in the head in the most like slapstick, just bouncing a rock off a tree, off a garbage can, and into a man's forehead, like. There's just enough of that stuff that's so fun to just enjoy in the moment, and then there is as deep as you want to get into Twin Peaks, you can peel those layers back and find some stuff. So it's really
there's a lot more character likability coming in. It's not necessarily that you have a bunch of people that are, no one seems to be, except for maybe Cooper, like, yeah, I like them. I can get behind them. They're genuinely interesting because we don't have shades of a couple of people who seem to be good people yet. But definitely, like, I'm invested in a lot of these people.
Yeah, for sure.
Percentage-wise, because so here's like I mentioned before, the pilot was hit and miss with me. A lot of things that I didn't like about that were thrown out the window for these 2 episodes, which I loved, and I'm like totally on board now. That last scene is something I had seen before. And it gets very third act of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is one of my favorite sequences.
Yeah.
I love that weird surreal shit. So, how much percentage-wise of the coming episodes, the rest of the series, do we get of that shit? Like, not that specific room, but like that type of stuff.
I don't know if I want to know this.
Okay, maybe that's a bad question. Maybe is there more?
There's more.
Okay, that's
absolutely.
So
there's more. And that's the other great thing about the show is I feel like you get the really kind of sweet emotional moments between characters. Like, particularly there are scenes like just between parents and children in this show that I really enjoy, that are really sweet. And then there's ones that you're just like, the one between Ben and Audrey in these episodes is really kind of heartbreaking. And it's funny because I feel like Audrey feels like such a just wild card. She's just like this agent of chaos for so long. And then after that scene, you get it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're
she's
like
Loki, the trickster guy.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Her dad is what's his ass? Odin. Odin.
Yeah, I was gonna say Zeus, then I felt like a dumbass.
Yeah, I almost said Zeus.
Don't disrespect Anthony.
But yeah, so there's just a lot, and there's also, I mean, we get a little taste of it in these episodes too. There's a horror element to all this stuff, like that scene of Bob still like makes my heart beat in a way that frightens me. Like it's such a weird cut and so unexpected, and so there's more of that to come. There's more fun stuff to reveal. So
he looks like one of the rapists from Prison Break. So.
Oh man, I haven't watched that in a long time.
But I like that there's characters I'm creeped out by and hate because it makes it all the more interesting to root for the characters I enjoy spending time with.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Well, do we want to end? Does anyone have any recommendations of other stuff you've been watching? Interested in? I'll make one. I've been watching Schitt's Creek, which is a show created by Eugene Levy and his son David Levy, about a really rich family who loses all their money, and the only thing they have left is a deed that they bought to a small town as a joke called Schitt's Creek, and they moved to this town called Schitt's Creek, and it's just a sitcom. It's not really remarkable in any way other than the performances are hilarious and real, and it's just a really like well-crafted sitcom, like 20-minute episodes, and it's really fun. I think I've finished almost all the episodes there on Netflix, and I'm bummed,
It's getting pretty universally like, and it hit a little late, but it's for some reason a lot of people, both media people I follow and like my cousins, are really finding that show recently.
Yeah, it's a fun show. Catherine O'Hara is in it, and she's a comedic god. She is hilarious. But yeah, so that's my recommendation if you're looking for something fun to tide you over, because don't get ahead of us in Twin Peaks. Watch it.
That's hard. I did notice that with how interested I am, that like I'll be able to spread some episodes over this next week, but like, yeah, part of me, that binge culture, like when I have time, like I'm gonna want to keep watching.
Well, I definitely, like we kind of talked about that. I feel like Twin Peaks fits into the binge culture that we have now, in a way that fits it probably better than it did on network television for sure. So, any other recommendations? Anyone got anything burning in there?
Go see Booksmart. It did really bad at the box office, but it's so fun.
Booksmart's
good.
So much more than female Superbad, but if you're looking for female Superbad, you won't be disappointed. They should have called it something besides Booksmart. I went in expecting a 10, and I think I'm only let down because it was a 9.5, but I really enjoyed it.
That's an acceptable margin.
But yeah, it might not be in theaters long for when this episode comes out, but if it's still dragging around, like, I think it's a little silly to be like, I'm a patron, but like, comedies are rarely making money at the box office, and they're going straight to like Netflix or Hulu. And I think like, I hope studios keep investing, $20 million into things like this.
Yeah,
it's well done.
It's really good. I loved it.
I saw Long Shot.
Oh, it was so good.
With Seth Rogen.
I was shocked how much I enjoyed
it. It was enjoyable.
Cool.
To be honest, I don't think it's something like I would watch again pretty soon, but it's definitely
like
really fun, and I liked a lot of the side characters a lot. Like,
I
they're
laughed
very
out loud
good.
a lot.
Yeah. Andy Serkis plays a guy who I didn't even know it was Andy Serkis till I was halfway through the movie.
Wait, I didn't know he was in that movie.
Dude, the old dude.
What?
The old dude. That's Andy Serkis. I didn't know it was him, but I was
I'm
like,
gonna have to
something
Google
about that
this.
guy. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh, it's a rom-com. It's a little high concept, and Charlize Theron is hit and miss when it comes to funny, but she's so beautiful. She's so talented. And I know. No. Wait.
She is.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, she is.
It
she is.
really matters to her character. She is magnetic, and you believe everything she does. Like, I do have a big crush on her, but that was completely separate. It was, call me Charlize. No.
You're Charlize. Why am I doing this? That's dumb. That's really dumb. That was the Twin Peaks shift into slapstick
But
bullshit.
she doesn't let Seth Rogen just turn it into a Seth Rogen. He's playing Seth Rogen, but it works. Their chemistry works, which you would be shocked.
Oh,
Sorry,
and
I just took over your
it
rant.
has a great opening scene as well.
Cool.
And then I finally got around to watching Mid-90s, which I very much enjoyed.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of oh my gosh, why is it escaping me? Coming of age movies lately. I just watched. I rewatched. I'm so tired right now. I'm so sorry. Almost Famous.
Oh, yeah, love that movie.
Yeah,
There's a
good
really
stuff.
good podcast on Almost Famous. It's if you look up "Sorry I'm Late," that's the name of the podcast. And there's an episode on Almost Famous. It's really good. You can check it out. It's on all the major podcast carriers.
I think I heard some people at work talking about
Yeah,
it.
the lead singer of the band Cinders, which is regionally impressive in a mountain region, is on that episode.
Oh, that's the most any thing we've ever done has been plugged.
Just plug the shit out of my own podcast.
Great. Any other recommendations?
I saw Aladdin. It was great.
I
Go
liked
see
it a lot.
Yeah, I
Took me
need
back
to
to my
check that out for
childhood. I
sure.
loved it.
Yeah.
I've heard good things.
Don't go in expecting revolution. Just have fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the first half of The Dark Crystal last night. And I can't say I recommend it.
On 0 to 1 red rooms, where would you place it as far as weirdness?
Oh, a 0 to 1's my score? A 2.
It's hard when I only have one thing on my
a
like
0.73.
That's good. That's weird.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's puppets?
But in a different I don't know. Because poor Marcus and Mitchell had to sit through my spiel about it earlier.
No, I was
before.
into it.
But I've had to watch a lot of Sesame Street with my son, so to keep from going insane, I pay attention to production things, and I'm like puppet work fascinates me. the fact that there's still people who have a job doing that.
Right, for sure.
Especially with how much CGI is around. And so to like go back and even just from like a production standpoint, there's some interesting things in the Dark Crystal that is the only thing I enjoyed about watching it at 2 a.m. last night. Because the most heavy-handed exposition you will ever find is in the first bit of that show. There's just a lot of weird shit that is uncomfortable, scenes that last way too long. But yeah, the puppets are amazing. There's certain puppets, like the wizard puppets. There's like a clan of wizards that are these weird camel creatures. They look fantastic. Even the lighting in their scenes. There's a one shot of one. I was like, that could be shot today. That looks awesome. And just the whole time I was telling Marcus, like, I was just laughing my ass off at random points in the morning because, like, a new scene would show something like, you guys built that? Holy shit. You're insane. Like, everything in it's physical, and that's really cool to see because you don't see it anymore. And that new one's coming out, which is probably going to suck, but it's probably going to have, from what I've seen in the trailers, has really cool visuals.
Stuff. Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to watch it. But yeah, I mean, it's Dark Crystal. Everyone's either seen parts of it or something, so I can't recommend.
You probably, like, right now, you probably know as much as you need to know about the Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in knowing more, go watch it.
It's on Netflix. Go tickle your curiosity.
Yeah.
All right. We keep going on and on, but I swear we're going to end after this. A friend who I don't know very well anymore just posted online, is so excited for my honeymoon on the flight to Illinois. Because that's where you go to honeymoon. Okay, we can end now.
In true Twin Peaks fashion, signing off.
What just happened?
I'm Tyler Harris.
Marcus Marinos.
Riley Harris.
I think I'm Tyler McKinley.
And I'm Mitchell Marshall.
And we'll see you next week. Watch episodes 3 through 5.
4
4 through 6 if you're watching on Netflix. Whatever. Just watch the next 3.